Yeah. And so then the DJ would get on the microphone and the DJ would start saying slick lines like, yes, yes, y'all, to the beat, y'all. But then the DJ was getting too in tune with the DJing skills, and he didn't have enough time, so he passed the mic off, or she passed the mic off to the MC. And the MC of the rapper would just say slick lines, you know, hip, hip, y'all, don't stop, y'all, rocking to the bang, bang, boogie, just jump the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie to beat, just all kinds of slick lines, and hip hop was emerging. But wait, hold on. But what in the world does that have to do with church? That's worldly stuff, right? That's secular stuff, right? But it's so closely related. Give it up, y'all, for my break dancers there, Frankie and Derek, and DJ April Rain. But hip hop and the church or Christianity are pretty much kinfolk to each other. They have an experience that is so similar. Mos Def is a very popular rapper. He's been in movies, and he put out a CD a few years ago called Black on Both Sides. And on the intro to that album, he says, hey, Mos Def, you know, people are always, saying, where is hip hop going? You know, Mos Def, where's hip hop going? What's the future of hip hop? And Mos Def says, well, if you want to know where hip hop is going, ask yourself, where are you going? In other words, we are hip hop. Mos Def was saying, whatever we're doing, that's what hip hop is doing. We put the face on hip hop. So if a young cat comes in here rapping, you know, just very arrogant and violent and sexist lyrics, that's the face he's putting on hip hop at that time. If he comes in here and raps some uplifting stuff, some positive stuff, that's the face he's putting on hip hop at the same time. And Christianity works in the same way. You know, when we leave the church and go throughout our lives, if we're gossiping and talking about people and catching attitudes with people, as Christians, that's the face we put on Christianity. If we go out and we love people and serve people and we're Christ-like, that's the face that we're putting on Christianity. And as you know, it's not always clean. A lot of hip-hop is not always clean and positive. And oftentimes, us as church people, as Christian people, we're not always clean and positive, oftentimes. And sometimes we think, like, especially in church circles, I hang out with all kinds of different church folk, from the traditional to the cat that just wants to denounce church and just go, you know, wash people's feet like Jesus, you know, just the whole gamut of things. But some people say, you know, we need to get back to the church of Acts, how it was in the book of Acts, how people were loving and serving one another. We need to go back to that. And I don't think we need to go back to that. I don't think we need to go back to that true hip-hop, to positive hip-hop, because it's still here. We just have to realize what we're being fed oftentimes in our culture, in our media-driven culture. It's not the correct face. It's not the face that we want. It's not the face that I don't want. And hip-hop and church are so related because they both, the way that they birthed is very similar. Both of them, there was a sense of hopelessness going on. And hip-hop was created in the Bronx, New York City, in the 70s. And at that time, the Bronx was just in disarray. I mean, it was just not doing well, the Bronx. There's some statistics I want to read to you about the Bronx during this time. It says the median family income in all of New York was $9,682, so right about $10,000. But in the South Bronx, it was $5,200. So the average family income in the Bronx was half that the rest of the people in the city. The area suffered 1/4 of all the city's reported cases of malnutrition. The infant mortality rate was 29 in 1,000 births. There were 6,000 abandoned buildings there. In the pivotal year of 1975, there were 13,000 fires in a 12-square-mile radius that left more than 10,000 people homeless and earned landlords $10 million in insurance settlements. So you have this neighborhood just living in poverty, and it's getting worse, and then crack cocaine came into the neighborhood, and the gangs were, it's just, you just have this sense of hopelessness. There was a young guy named Lucky Strike that lived in the Bronx in the 70s, and he was one of the early break dancers during that time. And he was in a gang at the time called the Savage Skulls. And he says, being in the Savage Skulls was more of a unity thing. The second family I never had. When I first joined, I didn't really know how to go through the Apache line. And that really freaked me out, because it was one of the first stages of becoming a member. An Apache line is when you got 10 people in one line, 10 people in another line, and you go through and they beat you. You had to go through, I guess, to show your courage. The final stage to becoming a member was when you had to play Russian roulette. So teenagers were actually running to a beatdown just to feel like they had a sense of belonging, just to belong. They would even play Russian roulette with being, I mean, some people actually got shot and killed playing that game. But still they would do it just because they wanted to belong. They just wanted to belong because they had been on the outskirts and just bad-mouthed, and their buildings were being burned, you know, and the landlords were making money. Who cares where these 10,000 people are going to live? I'm making money off the insurance claims. And you just had a terrible situation going on in the Bronx. When Jesus came and he entered the world as a Jew, he entered a world that was, it was a lot of hopelessness going on. Because the Jews at that time, they had experienced, you know, years of slavery in Egypt. Then they wandered around the desert with, you know, water and some, you know, bread, you know, and the bread was not like big loaves of bread. It was like little things that dropped off. It was like little bread. And so they don't really have anything, and they're wandering around for 40 years. What in the world is going on? Then they experience years where they're dispersed, so they're not even a unit anymore. They're living over here, and they're being, you know, just all kinds of stuff is happening to them. And then they live years of being ruled over. The Roman Empire comes and it just pretty much says, hey, you are people now. We'll tell you what you can and cannot do. So they're being ruled over, and they know about this Jesus. But for years, hundreds of years, there hadn't been a prophet, no writings. It's just, what's going on? Is God really our God? Is he really a loving God? Is he even here anymore? Does he even exist? So there was a sense of hopelessness. And then this Jesus comes along. Man. And he offers a sense of belonging. And hip-hop did the same thing to the people in the Bronx. Hip-hop came